So, what do you think of when you think of plants? I suppose, you know, a lot of people think, well, they're green things that come out of the ground. Some of them you eat, some of them you use as herbs. I think a lot of people realise that they do give us oxygen and that. But people just seem to think that they just sit there and do nothing, and that's not true. You know, they're living beings within their own rights, and they have sensitivities, and they have all sorts of ways of protecting themselves, and people don't realise that, but they do. This is the sort of thing. Now, this plant here is a sensitive plant, Mimosa pudica, it's called, and they call it a sensitive plant because that's exactly what it is. You know, I mean, it don't burst into tears or anything if you turn it off and all that. But the thing is, if you touch it like that, you see, you notice the leaves will all curl up and close up. You see, the reason for this is because if an animal comes along and it sees this plant, it tries to eat it. Obviously, plants protect themselves. The animal will go up and try and grab it like that with its, and then it thinks, oh, it must be dead, so it'll leave it alone. It won't eat it. You see, that's one reason. Another reason is because through these leaves, the plant will lose moisture. So it's transpiring. They take the water up through here, turn it into energy with the sunlight. That's why they keep the leaves flat to the sun, and they keep going to the sun. And but then all the moisture, like we sweat, come out of little pores in there. So if it blows very windy, for example, it would be losing a lot of moisture, because while it's transpiring, the moisture's coming out, it would have too much. So when the wind blows, instead of drying it up, they'll close up. Look at that. So here's a gale blowing here, and that way they close themselves up so that the moisture doesn't escape. And that's pretty clever, I think. I mean, you know, when people think that plants are not sensitive to anything, to touch, to feelings, they do actually protect themselves. And this is just one of them, and I aim to show you more in the future. So that's the sensitive plant, Mimosa pudica, also known as touch me not, because touch me not, look, I'm going to close up. Okay, thank you. Now here's another interesting way plants survive. This is a cotyledon, which grows in dry, arid countries, and you may notice that here and there you'll find roots are actually coming out of the stem there, because any moisture in the air during the night when it's cooler, they get their nourishment from that, and of course the actual leaves are very thick and full of water, right? Also, when it gets very dry, some of the leaves drop off to conserve themselves, and they fall on the ground, and you'll see that once there's a bit of rain, little tiny roots on them will start going into the ground, and there's one that's actually grown into a totally new plant. So they replenish themselves like that, so that perhaps if the older one actually dies, it doesn't have to rely on flowers to reproduce. It just drops the leaves, and if there's a piece of moisture there, or when the rains do come, then it will actually root and make a new plant, so that if the old one dies, there's always a new one to come up. There you go. So shows you how plants look after themselves, isn't it? Amazing? Yeah. And we'll go back to some of the other things I looked at before. Orchid, which was flowered last year, but now you'll notice that coming from the stem is a shoot which is pointing downwards. Now that downward pointing shoot will push into the soil without, remember, uprooting the plant itself, and get nutrients. It's what they call a radical shoot, which is a root, and it will go down and get the nutrients for the plant. Now, also from the stem, you'll notice over here is another shoot tucked between the leaves there, and that's coming out of the stem as well, but it's pointing upwards, and you notice a little growth on the end there, which is actually will finish up as the flower. So that shoot is going down, the plumule, which will become the root, and this shoot here is the radical, which goes upwards and will make a stem with a flower on for later next year. Now, the force that makes that root go down is called geotropism. The Earth's gravity takes it down, whereas this one is affected by what they call phototropism, or light attraction, and it will go up. So we'll come back to this later to see how it gets on. Okay, fascinating, huh? Really? Well, we were telling you about the sensitive plant and how it folds up to stop animals eating it. But of course there are also plants that encourage animals to eat their products, like fruit for example, the pears here, because the animal will eat that. That's enticing it. An animal will take it and eat it. Whoops! And there it fell on the floor, right? And lovely. Now we will eat it and throw the core away. Well, of course, a wild human would have done that, even monkeys, but throw the core and the seeds will then grow. Other animals will eat the whole thing and take the pits down as well. And then, of course, it comes out in their poo, and it's got its own fertilisers to grow in. So plants do actually encourage, instead they thought, well, we can't beat them, so we join them. If they're going to eat something, don't eat our leaves, they'll eat the fruits instead. And that way they get distributed all over the place, because animals roam. So clever, eh? So they're not stupid things, plants, trees included. Well, autumn is here, autumn 2015, and what an autumn it is with the colours of the leaves. Amazing. Autumn colours. There's the trees changing colour before they drop their leaves, and of course there's a reason for that, but they do look beautiful, don't they? As they
very pretty.
They're pretty, aren't they? Yeah.
Pretty.
Oh, look at that. If you go down there, look at the colours on those trees. Different autumnal tones. Look at that. Autumnal. And they're just about to fall, as the Americans call it, in the fall.
Yes.
It's the knee, but well, there's a reason for that. So why do the leaves on trees go different colours in the autumn? Some of them go red, some of them go gold, some of them go yellow in the autumn, or fall as they call it in America. Well, that is the original pigmentation of the leaf, in actual fact. When you see a leaf in the summer, when it's green, this is chlorophyll, which is the substance that converts sunlight into energy for the plant, or the tree in this case, to give it energy. It's called photosynthesis. Sunlight from the sun converted into energy. In the winter, it's not so much whether it's colder or not, as much as the fact that the daylight is less, and the tree knows that it won't be able to get so much sunlight, so it's already got stored energy in it, the plant or the tree, and so gradually it withdraws all that pigmentation. You see some going there on that, all the chlorophyll, and leaves the leaf like that, and eventually the leaf will drop off, because then it can't photosynthesize. And the reason for that is that the plant, you've heard of animals hibernating in the winter, and plants do the same thing, and even trees. Although you still see the tree standing there, they take the leaves off, it saves energy, and the tree more or less shuts down, all the sap goes back to the roots, and it just sits there in a dormant fashion, hibernating in the winter. And then in the spring, we'll start producing new leaves. And that's the reason why leaves fall off of trees in the autumn and change colour. Thank you. Clever things, trees. Just to give you an idea how plants, concrete, paving, roads aren't maintained, plants will start to take over. There's moss growing in there, and of course you'll see all the little weeds, but what people don't notice is this stuff here. You see this? That's lichen, spelt lichen, but it's lichen, and it is like a cross between a plant and a bacteria, and that will eventually take over. It gets everywhere. I mean, this has been just a few years that the pavements haven't been repaired, and already it's here. In hundreds of years you wouldn't even know there was any pavement or concrete or anything like that left. Gradually it will take over. Like you see the plants gradually growing into the cracks. Even in our garage there, it's growing here. The walls, moss is beginning to grow. And as I say, eventually, if this was left 100 years' time, everything would be covered in plants. So if mankind disappeared from the planet, give it 500 years, you wouldn't even know it'd be there. Isn't that amazing? Right, so this is seed sowing, and we're going to grow some nutritious seeds. We'll eat them as the shoots, actually. This is alfalfa, which is very nutritious, and you can have in salads and you can have in sandwiches, and we have it with breakfast with eggs and stuff as well. And these are mung beans, which come out as bean shoots, which you can stir fry or have in salads. So, and it's very simple to do this, and it also gives you an idea of how seeds germinate. So what we do, we take a thing like that, little jar, and we empty the seeds in there like that. Okay? In fact, I think we're going to need a few more than that, so luckily we've got another one. So we'll do that. Put a few more in it. If you'll bear with me for a little while. And put a few more seeds in there. That out of the way, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's some seeds in there. Then go to the tap, put some water in there like that, and rinse them. Okay? Now for the bean shoots, because they come out bigger for stir frying and so on, take the packet. Fiddly about here, don't I? And this time we need a bigger thing like that. And we empty, put them all in there. That's the seeds. They're quite small seeds, as you can see. We go over the tap again and put water in there. That on there, and put that on. Then both of them we soak for a little while. Now we'll stop there and I'll show you another bit in a minute. Right, so the next stage is some muslin like that and elastic band. Put the muslin on top of the jar and then just put the elastic band around there like that, and as you can see the water and the seeds are in there. Now The next stage to do with this, shake it up vigorously like that, and then we just let the water soak out like that. Put them back. Some of the bean shoots, except we're not using muslin. This it's not an airtight thing, so we just let the water out. There, let that drain away. So we've just got that now, and that with the seeds in, so you can see that, and put it away for the night up there, and this one put in there, and we'll come back tomorrow and have a look, see how they're doing. Alright, take about 5 days for them to be finished, so see you at the next stage. Thank you. Hiya. Well, this is the 3rd day since we originally soaked the seeds, and at the moment I'm rinsing out the bean shoots, the mung beans, there like that, excuse me, there, and now if you remember there was these, which was the alfalfa, give it a shake. I'm going to empty them out, like that. Right, and if you can see that, I don't know whether you can, but there's just a few little shoots coming from those. And if we have a look at the mung beans, you'll see that they're beginning to germinate as well, just a few little shoots coming on them. So we'll give it another day, and then perhaps on day 4 we'll show you how far we got. Okay? Right, I'll put the wag in then. Thank you. There we are. Right, so there's the bean shoots again the next day. And you see now they're like they're beginning to get the shoots on. You see that? Look at that. So they'll nearly be ready. And the alfalfa, I don't know if you can see them kind of wiggling about in there like that. You see, so again we rinse them off. Like that. Push them down, and there you see, so they're nearly ready. Another couple of days and they'll probably be all ready for eating. So, alright, join us again later. Bye.
Okay. Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Right, that's all rinsed out now. And now I'll come over here. And you see there, got lovely bean shoots all ready for a stir fry now. We can do that. And then here, I've already taken the top off this one. And as you can see, it's not almost full. And put that in there. And got alfalfa, which you can use like cress really. You could have it in sandwiches. We have it with boiled eggs or poached eggs on toast, and it's lovely with that. So lovely, very nutritious too. But isn't it amazing how from a few little tiny seeds we've got all that. Now where does all the material come from? From water alone. And it all, isn't that a miracle? Amazing how plants germinate and we make use of them. Okay, we're going to eat them now. What could be healthier? Boiled eggs, tomatoes and alfalfa. Lovely. Very healthy stuff, that. Lovely. We're going to eat them now. Have these stir fry tonight. There you are, the sensitivity of plants. If when it's dark to shady or wet, that the daisies close up for the night because they know that insects aren't going to be around, and then as it gets brighter they gradually open. Isn't that interesting? So there you go, clever daisies, eh? Conserve energy by closing up at night and when it's raining, and they're not going to be pollinated. Only open up in the sunshine for the animals and the bees to pollinate. There's this little bee down there. Look at that, with the... And there he is. Going for the primroses. And of course they carry the pollen, they get the nectar, carry the pollen from one flower to the other, because flowers really are only sexual organs. We might think they're pretty, but in actual fact that it's purely for reproductive reasons. The flowers, the scent and the colour attract the insects. They drink the nectar, as you can see there, and then they pick up the pollen from one flower, take it to the other, and that's how they reproduce. So a flower is really only a sexual part of a plant. They're not here for our benefit by any means. Spring and all the spring. Remember at the beginning of this video program, whatever you want to call it, the sensitive plant, I showed you that when the animals tried to eat them, they folded up to make it look as though they were dead. And plants have little tricks like that to stop them from being eaten. Now, in the desert, of course, plants very often store water in their leaves, and that is very attractive to animals because not only do they get food from the leaf, but they get fluid as well from the sap of it, which stores the fluid inside it. Well, some plants, like cacti for example, they have lots of spines, and of course if the animal tries to eat it, they're going to get prickles in there, and some of them even come out as though they would stick in the mouth of the animal. Now, and there's succulents. This is a succulent. This is an aloe vera. You may have heard of it. And although it does have quite razor-like pieces on it like that, some animals would get over that and they would come along and they would eat it or chew it, but inside there the sap, which is sticky, is very bitter. It's known as a bitter herb, you see. So when you cut it or eat it like that, you've got that sap. In fact, it's all coming out now, look. And the animal would do that, spit it out, and then that will fall in the soil and then grow. But as far as we're concerned, it's also a herb. And if you've got a sore and you put that all over it like that, that will cure it. And it's only at mankind that has discovered that aloe vera sap has curative qualities. So, isn't that fascinating? There you go. And that's where aloe vera comes from a plant. Okay? Right, join us again in the next programme. Alright, see ya. Bye.